All right, I'm going to go through the study guide problems from the Unit 10 study guide on radicals. So first of all, you need to know how to simplify square roots. To do that, we're going to make a factor tree, and we're going to make it a prime factor tree, meaning we're going to get down to prime numbers. So we start always with 2. If it's an even number, we know we can divide by 2. 72 divided by 2 is 36. Once you've done that, you cross out 72. 36 is also even. That's 2 times 18. Cross out the 36 when you're done. 18 is even. 2 times 9. Once you get to numbers that aren't even, go up. Just try the next number, which is 3, and I can divide 9 by 3, and I get 3 times 3. Now, I'm looking for groups of 2. I have 2 3s and 2 2s. Oops, and I forgot to cross out that 9. So it's like a date on a Friday night. Couples go out, singles stay in. So any couples get to come out, but they only take one car when they go on a date, so they come out as singles. So I have a 3 coming out and a 2 coming out, and I have a 2 that's staying in that doesn't have a date. Now I'm going to multiply anything outside together and anything inside. So outside I have 3 times 2, that is 6, and inside I only have a 2. So I am done. You should also check all of these on your calculator and make sure that they match up. Let's try another one. So I've got 3 times the square root of 200x to the 4th. What I would do on this when you have something outside is, so you don't forget, just write it outside immediately before you do your factor tree. So now I've got 200, it's even, so 2 times 100, cross out the 200. 100 is even, 2 times 50, cross out the 100. 50 is even, 2 times 25, cross out the 50. And finally 25 is 5 times 5. So now I'm looking again for groups of 2. Oops, and I forgot to cross out the 25. I've got a group of 5s and a group of 2s. So those are my couples, they're going to come out. So a 5 comes out and a 2, and inside I still have a 2. So my last step is multiply everything on the outside together. 3 times 5 is 15, 15 times 2 is 30, and I still have the square root of, oops, actually we forgot, sorry, to do my letters. So I have 30 on the outside, but I didn't do my x to the 4th. So to do x to the 4, you don't do a factor tree, we're just going to expand it. So x to the 4 is x times x times x times x. And when I make groups here, I can make 1, 2 groups of 2. So that comes out as x squared, because there are 2 of them. And then I have times the square root of 2. And there's none left over for x's. So my answer is 30x squared times the square root of 2. Okay, let's try this one. I've got 245. It's definitely not even, so it's not divisible by 2. If I try 3, that doesn't work either, but it is divisible by 5. So I'm going to do 5. And 245 divided by 5 is 49. Cross out the 245. 49 is 7 times 7. Cross out the 49. So now I have a group of 2 7s and 1 single 5. I still need to do my letters. So I have x to the 5th, which is x times x times x times x times x. I have y to the 3rd, which is y times y times y, and I'm looking for groups of 2. So here's a group of 2, here's a group of 2 with 1 left over, and here's a group of 2. So now when they come out, I have my 7s are coming out as 1. I have 2 x's, so that comes out as x squared, 2 groups of x's, 1 group of y's, and on the inside I have a 5, an x, and a y. Those are my leftover. That's from here, here, and here. And that is my simplified version. Simplifying cube roots is the same process, but instead of groups of 2 at the end, we're going to do groups of 3. The factor tree is exactly the same. So I'm going to always start with 2 for my factor tree. So 162 is 2 times 81. Cross it out when you're done. 81 can be divided by 3. I have 3 times 27. Cross it out. 27 is 3 times 9. Cross out the 27. And 9 is 3 times 3. So again, the only difference here is instead of groups of 2, I'm going to circle groups of 3. Oops, and I forgot to cross out the 9. So I have one group of 3 coming out, and on the inside, I have a 2 and a 3 left over. So my answer is going to be 3 times the cube root, don't forget to make a 3 there, of 6. And again, you should check this on your calculator as well to make sure. Okay, so now I've got the cube root of negative 24. When you see a negative in a cube root, I would just move it immediately to the outside. Your answer is going to be negative, and then factor as if it was a positive number once you've moved it out. So 24, I have 2 times 12. Cross out the 24. 12 is 2 times 6. Cross out the 12. And 6 is 2 times 3. Cross out the 6. So again, I'm looking for groups of 3. I have a group of 3 2s. So that's going to come out, and the 3 stays in. So my answer is negative 2. Whoops, I almost forgot the cube root, times the cube root of 3. Okay, here's another example. Again, my factor tree, I always start with 2 if it's even. 2 times 8, cross out the 16. 2 times 4, cross out the 8. And 2 times 2. And then I'm looking for groups of 3. So I have a group of 3 2s. Oops, and I forgot to cross out my 4. I also need to know my letters. So I have x to the 9 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 x's. Y to the 8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm doing the same thing here. I'm looking for groups of 3. So I have 1, 2, 3 groups of 3 x's, and 1, 2 groups of 3 y's with 2 left over. So when I decide what comes out, I have 1 group of 2's, 3 groups of x's, 2 groups of y's, and inside my cube root, I still have a 2, and I have 2 y's. And there's my answer. So multiplying and dividing square roots, the big thing to remember here is always do outside times outside and inside times inside. So my outside times my outside here is 2 times 4, which is 8. And my inside times my inside is 6 times 12, which is 72. And then on top of that, you got to do a factor tree and simplify if you can. So now I'm going to do 72. I'm going to do it by 2 because it's even. So I have 2 times 36, cross out the 72. 2 times 18, cross out the 36. 2 times 9, cross out the 18. And 3 times 3, cross out the 9. So I'm looking for groups of 2. I have 1, 2 groups of 2. I already had an 8 outside. I'm taking a 2 and a 3, and I have a 2 left over. So I've got 8 times 2 times 3, which is 48, times the square root of 2. And again, you should check that in your calculator. Another example, again, outside times outside. -1 times 2 is -2. And 4x squared times 4x cubed is 16x to the 5th. So now I'm going to do my factor tree and see if I can simplify. 16 is even, so I'm going to start with 2. 2 times 8, 8 is even. 2 times 4, and 4 is even. 2 times 2. I have 2 pairs of 2's and nothing left over. That means 16 was a perfect square. I also have x to the 5th, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can see here I can make 2 groups of 2 with 1 left over. So I had a negative 2 on the outside already. I'm taking out 2 groups of 2 and 2 groups of x's, and left inside I have 1x. So negative 2 times 2 times 2 is negative 8. X squared times the square root of x. Okay, dividing, same thing. You can divide outside with outside and inside with inside, but you can't mix outside with inside. And the other thing here is you can't have a square root on the bottom, only in the top. So you can have a square root in the numerator, but not the denominator. So first, if you have them all under one sign, remember that the square root of a fraction is the square root of the top over the square root of the bottom. Now, before you start doing any other simplifying, you should always check to see if you have any perfect squares. 16 is a perfect square, so the square root of 16 is 4, and I have 4 over the square root of 5. Now I've got to get rid of that square root on the bottom, and the way we do that is by multiplying the top and bottom by the square root of 5. So I'm multiplying top and bottom. This is an outside and inside, so they don't mix. I just have 4 times the square root of 5. This one, square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is 5. There's nothing more I can simplify here, so I am done. I can't simplify the inside. I can't simplify 4/5. Let's try another one. On this one, before I start, I have inside and inside. And if I were to enter this into my calculator under alpha y equals, I can reduce 15 over 80 to 3 over 16, but it's still under square roots. So it's the square root of 3 over the square root of 16. Now, I have a perfect square. So I have the square root of 3 over 4, and I'm done. I don't have a square root on the bottom. Now, if you didn't do this, you could still get rid of it by multiplying top and bottom by the same thing. So I also could do the square root of 15 over the square root of 80. And then I can multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 80, which gives me, on the top, 15 times 80 is 1200. So I have the square root of 1200 over square root of 80 times the square root of 80 is just 80. So I'm going to have a pretty big factor tree here. Let's see what I get. I have the square root of 1200. It's even, so I know I can divide it by 2. So I've got 2 and 600. Cross out the 1200. This is even, 2 and 300. This is even. I've got 2 and 150. This is even, 2 and 75. This is not even, but I can divide 75 by 3, 3 and 25, and then lastly I have 25 is 5 and 5. So I'm looking for groups of 2. I have 2 2's here, 2 2's there, and 2 5's. So this is going to equal a 2 times a 2 times a 5, and left inside is a 3. So 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 5 is 20, so it reduces to 20 times the square root of 3. So now I'm going to replace this over here, the square root of 1200, with 20 times the square root of 3 over 80. My last step is to reduce this outside fraction, outside and outside. 20 over 80, if you put that into alpha y equals in your calculator, is 1 over 4, which is the same answer that I got up here in green just by reducing 15 over 80 before I started. So this was the short way. This is the long way. They both work. Okay, same thing here. If you notice, you can reduce outside and outside and inside and inside. So outside over outside is 4 over 2. That equals 2. Inside over inside, same, you can cross out. And then I have 2 over 8, which would be the square root of 1 over the square root of 4, because 2 over 8 is the same thing as 1/4. Now this becomes really quick. I've got 2 times 1, because the square root of 1 is 1, over 2, or 1. So your other option, if you didn't see that you could cancel stuff out, would be to take oh, my pen is not working. Okay, I'm not sure why my pen stopped working, so I'm going to try to do it with the mouse, and I don't know how well that's going to work. But the other way to do this would be to do 4 times this, wow, this is bad, 2x over 2 times the square root of 8x, and multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 8x. And I'll make another video for this one after I figure out what's wrong with my pen. I apologize. So again, quick way is try to cancel outside with outside, inside with inside. Longer way, I'm going to have to multiply the top and the bottom here. I don't even want this line to be this long. I'm going to have to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of 8x. And then I'm going to have a lot more simplifying to do here.